Justin McElroy, my brother, my coworker.
Hello, Griffin.
It's time to use your mouth icon on the microphone item.
Okay.
Like they do in adventure games?
That's a weird way of saying all of that, but whatever you think.
We're going to do a video now where you're going to tell me all about King's Quest and Knights You Remember, which I played about an hour of, and I've captured some of it and put some of that together into this video presentation. This is the very beginning of the first chapter of this new series, which you and Sumit reviewed for Polygon.com. Here I just went ahead and I flipped one switch and I survived that, and I got a little bit greedy, I guess, and got one of the game's many death screens.
Yeah, that's one of the things you got to watch out for, is that you are mortal.
Yeah, sure. So that's just number one game tip at the front of the video with Justin. Don't die, because you can die.
Yeah, this is really interesting. They kind of front load. If you are like, if this is the first thing you're seeing of King's Quest, the 2015 edition, it probably looks a little crazy because it doesn't feel very adventure gamey. They kind of front load it with a few of these action sequences. There are a couple more later as you go, but it kind of eases you into the puzzle aspects and hits the sort of like a little bit more action up front.
Yeah, I've gotten a little bit further than this. I didn't include everything because I didn't want to spoil too much, because it is an episodic thing, so it's not, super long. So I didn't want to spoil much, but I haven't really hit any puzzles that have been especially complex. Like, I don't think it's unfair to say that it's using sort of the Telltale structure where like puzzles aren't especially difficult. It's just like finding the things you need is more of the challenge.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely, I think, more so than Telltale. I mean, it's more puzzly. I don't think finding items and using them in the appropriate way is something that Telltale is even in the business of anymore.
Here, by the way, is how the inventory works. I actually really like the interface of the game.
So you just choose the item you want to see, and if you can interact with something, it's shown in the mirror there. If you don't see something in the mirror, then you can't interact with anything nearby. The puzzles aren't especially tough. The main sort of impediment is getting around the world, and it takes so long to get from A to B a lot of times that sometimes that was like an impediment to experimentation. Like the biggest thing keeping me from trying a thing was I just didn't want to walk all the way back to the thing, which is like, that is not the same as like brain teaser. Right.
You mentioned that in the review. By the way, this is just sort of a quick cut of me dying a few different ways, because it's my favorite part of these Sierra adventures. You mentioned that in the review, that just like traveling all over the world is kind of annoying. And that was something that they addressed in like earlier King's Quest games, and people weren't crazy about it when they added in like fast travel. But I don't know. I get your point, because just going over the same spots that you've been to over and over again has nothing to do with difficulty. It's just like,
it's less like I'm not even sure fast travel would be good. It would just, if you could just make him run, like just a run would be really great. Because it just, you really feel it, and that gets exacerbated by the load times. As you move forward through the game, it just really, the pacing, you really feel it. Okay.
What's wrong? Did you do something different?
No, the watching this scene, I can contextualize this a little bit better now, because this is actually sort of a prelude. It's actually I guess you could call it a reimagining of one of the scenes from King's Quest 1, where he steals the mirror from the dragon as one of the 3 items he has to get to become King of Daventry. Right. This is sort of a reimagining of that. So like, it's chronologically later than the rest of the game, which I'm just now realizing. Huh. I'm not realizing that, but it's been contextualized.
Is there a lot of stuff like that for folks like you who are big fans of the series?
I would say it's certainly not something where you're going to get like loaded down with it. Like, you're not going to miss much if you aren't. But like, it's almost sort of used as like a shorthand to communicate that they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like there's, for instance, one of the jokes in King's Quest is that Graham's father was a knight and his grandfather was a knight and his great-great-grandfather was a dentist, but his dad was a knight.
That's cool.
So, and there's like a reference to that made in the game. So like that kind of thing. This is one of the things that's weird about King's Quest is this version is you get these decisions sometimes and you don't exactly know what you're deciding.
Right. You say this, what happens has consequences. Christopher Lloyd tells you that. He does the voiceover for the future you narrator. And he says, you have to shoot one of these three things. It gives you a little bit of context, actually, because he already has the one arrow in his eye, so you figure I can shoot his eye out and blind him. And then earlier, you walk by that switch, and it shows you that is what's holding his chain in. So I shot the chain to free him. I have no idea what the bell did.
The bell actually will distract him, so you can leave without injuring him or freeing him.
Huh, interesting. Which one is that what you went with?
Yeah, that's the one that seemed better than letting him loose into the village and stuff.
Well, I thought maybe he
let him run
now he loves
shot all
maybe
over.
now he loves humans. Maybe you need to see a little movie called Dragonheart.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point.
The story of the game is my favorite part of it so far. Like I'm
the framing device, you mean?
Yeah, the framing device of it being told from the past. Like they do some fun stuff with it. Whenever you die, he's like, well, actually, that's what would have happened if I was an idiot, but I'm not, and so here I am. Or sometimes it'll show you getting killed, and then your granddaughter that you're telling the story to says like, so wait, are we immortal? Is that what this means? I included this shot in because it's a supremely pretty game.
Yeah, it's really, it looks like King's Quest box art.
Yeah, I'm
has looked for the past 30 years.
Very much into it. But I'm kind of with you. Like I haven't found it especially challenging. They're doing some. What's weird is they're doing some cool stuff with like branching solutions. Like I hit one puzzle where you're sort of looking for an item of a particular shape, and you can go into a town, and there's like a few different ways that you can solve it, a few different items you can find. But like you don't really know what you're doing. Like you find one of those items and you pick it up, and then as you keep looking around, you find the other two, and he's like, well, I already made this decision. I feel like that's kind of, it's maybe not a great example, but it's kind of indicative of like, I think the game maybe drops the ball a little bit in going down that path of like not just having one solution, because you just make the solution. You don't know that there's other stuff you could be doing. And I feel like you need to know that there's other stuff you could be doing in order for that stuff to really resonate.
Yeah, I'm really of two minds about it, because I on the one hand, it's kind of neat to compare stories with people afterwards and say, oh, what did you do? But if you're only playing through the game once, which with an episodic game, that's what it should be your playthrough, right?
Right.
And I'm not sure you get the full impact of that if you're only playing through once and you don't realize. And sometimes it does say kind of parts of the component and says, hey, this is another option you could have done, which I just found a little frustrating.
So are you optimistic about the next chapters in the game?
I am. Provided they clean up some of the pacing stuff, then I think it'll be great.
Need to argue about the fact that I am. Uh-oh. Okay.